So, hey, everybody, we're here. Been a little bit. We took a break because we were doing some shoots in California. But since we're on the subject of California, I have a very good guest here. Glad he showed up. I'm glad he could talk to me. Is Sgt Ray Kelly from the Alameda County Sheriff's Department or Sheriff's Office. And hello, sir. How are you?
Stanley, how are you, my friend?
Well, you know what? It's good to see you, man. It's good to see you. I'm just trying to make sure that we both pop in at the same time, and I can't seem to make that happen for some reason. There we go. Still learning these buttons.
That's all right. You're good. I'm not good at that. Zoom is a whole new thing to me. I've done more Zoom TV interviews now in the last year than I ever wanted to.
It's been weird. We were zooming since COVID hit, and this is where this whole thing came about.
When COVID first hit, I was still doing press conferences and stuff, but they would have these microphones like on broomsticks, and they'd like stick it over in your face, and then like the pandemic got more serious, and then they went remote to Zoom and all the different softwares that the news people were using. So, but we've Zoomed all over in the last year, all over the world, doing different news stories and coverage of kind of what's going on in California and across the country. So it's been interesting.
So, a little bit about yourself. You are the voice of Alameda County Sheriff's Office when something happens. When there's an incident, you're the person, you're the public information officer, you're the guy that talks about what happened. Right. Tell us more about your job.
Well, yeah. So, I've been at the Sheriff's Office for 25 years. I started out here as a young man at 22 years old. Not a whole lot of life experience when I look back on it, how life has come a long way. But, I spent about 20 years in our operational assignments. So from our detective bureau to our patrol division, as a supervisor, as a detective, as an officer on the streets. So I got a lot of experience. I've been on our bomb squad for about 18 years doing that. And then about 5 years ago, the sheriff asked me to if I'd be interested in taking over the public information officer job from J.D. Nelson, who was well known in that job for many, many years and who you worked with. So I got the opportunity to do that. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would be involved in the media. It's not in my background. It wasn't even in my wheelhouse or my thought. But got into that about 5 years ago, and really have enjoyed it. Actually, learned a lot, met a lot of good people. But when I took the job 5 years ago, it was very different from what it is now. And so when I took over the job from J.D. Nelson, he was like, "Hey, this is a great job. Most of the times we do really good stories, and it's a chance for us to connect with the community, get information out there, and do all that." And so now anytime I run into JD, I says, "You gave me bad advice," because it's all changed, and it has changed. Feels opposite. Like all I do is defend law enforcement. All I do is defend the work that we're doing, and any way some of the people out there that are never going to like us, which is a small percentage, but they're the loudest percentage, especially on Twitter. They're gonna come after you, and they do, and I'm okay with that, and we're okay with that because we need to be held accountable. We have to answer to the public because at the end of the day, we work for the public. But I also think that this last year has taught us that a lot has gone on, and we've survived a lot, but that along the way, some of us in law enforcement feel like we've been kind of left out to dry a little bit, and we kind of understand that. A lot of us have taken lumps, and it's been difficult.
Well, at one time you guys were the hero, and then all of a sudden you guys became the zero. And I actually saw a pattern. I mean, some people say that it all started with George Floyd, but I'm going to go backwards in California and say that it started much sooner than that, or much earlier than that, than just George Floyd. And I say that because Prop 47 was one of the nails in the coffin, so to speak, for by allowing the decriminalizing things and making it $950 is the maximum before you can be charged with a penalty. So, and they were going with trash bags and load up to $949 just to avoid that rule. And car break-ins were out of control. I mean, I was doing those stories every week. There was a car break-in story. So that was the beginning of the start of things like that. The props, we start getting people out of jail. But even to go further back, when they were fighting about getting rid of bail, in my opinion, that was also another one of those nails that was like moving in a direction where we've kind of taken society and given it to the criminals and saying the criminals are right and law enforcement has been wrong. That's what I'm getting from it.
Well, a lot of the work that you did in your career and a lot of the work I did early on in my career was quality of life issues. And those are as simple as people dumping trash, blight, graffiti, people speeding in the community, and just those little things. And when you stop taking care of those little things, then you allow the bigger and bigger things to happen. It's called the broken windows theory.
Yes.
And the broken windows theory is, hey, if you don't replace that broken window on that warehouse, then people are going to keep throwing rocks at it. And before you know it, all the windows will be broken in the house, in the building, in the warehouse. So our philosophy had always been this: when the window gets broken, let's go fix it and put a new little window pane in there and we'll be all good. Along the way, we definitely were like, hey, the warehouse has got a lot of holes in it, but we're just trying to keep it standing up, right, from going on fire. And so that's where I feel we've gone to. So from fixing things, the little things, the quality of life issues, to now just hoping the warehouse, we can keep the roof on it. And that's what we're dealing with. And so it's become acceptable in certain areas in California and in the Bay Area. It's acceptable to break into cars. It's become okay to come out and have your window smashed. It's people are willing to not report those crimes. It's okay to have blight and quality of life issues that are also public health issues, and we're willing to overlook those. And in some cases, it's understandable because people are on hard times, and we have a homeless crisis that's going on.
Oh, you guys, yeah, it's crazy over there right now.
Yeah, we spent the last year really working on that in Alameda County, and through the pandemic, we're able to get a lot of people to safe space, to shelter, and those that would accept it, and a lot of people did, and we spent a lot of money doing that. And there was a lot of different things we got to do and try, and some of those were very successful here in the Bay Area. And so, but now we're starting to see our homeless camps fill up again, and people back out living on the streets. And it's you have to be very compassionate in your approach to how you deal with that, because about 75% of the time there's addiction involved and mental health. And we tend to summarize it as homelessness, but it's much deeper than that,
But even when I used to cover the homeless issues, I was never covering the homeless issue as being homeless. I covered it as in they would destroy the neighborhood with garbage and trash and build up and all that stuff like that, and that stuff needed to be cleaned up. But the way it was brought back to me was like, oh, you're criminalizing homeless people,
right?
I'm like, no, I'm more trying to realize that they shouldn't have to live like this. And this needs
they shouldn't have to, and I agree with you. And that's the thing, is they shouldn't have to live like that. So in one of the richest nations in the world, in California, one of the richest places and most prosperous places in the world, we can actually, and we get it during the pandemic, we can actually get people into shelter, into services. But we need more than that. I think we need, when I talk to all the experts, we need mental health services, and we need better locations and institutions, for example, and an infrastructure to support those people and get them healthy again where we can. So, but when it doesn't work and everything goes sideways, they just blame the cops, right? It's all our fault. But
it's either blame the cops or blame the media.
I blame the media, but cops over time, we've been asked to do all these jobs that we never really signed up for. Like you want us to go out and be the dog catchers, take care of the homeless problem, deal with the problems in the schools, deal with the problems around mental health and addiction. And that's fine. And we do a good job with the expertise that we have. But there's not a lot of people signing up saying, hey, put me in, and ultimately all this leads to incarceration in people because we have nowhere else to put them. So they end up in our county jail or state prisons. And we don't disagree that they don't belong there, a lot of those people. Or when they do come there, let's get them healthy. Let's get them to services and programs and connect them to stuff on the outside and help mitigate the problem. But a lot of that infrastructure just doesn't exist. And it's big dollars.
How do you guys take care of your own mental health? I mean, it's funny that when you think about agencies and officers, they have to deal with a lot of stuff: dead bodies, dead babies, people shot, stabbed, run over by a truck, and when things go wrong, no one calls the post office; they call the police, they call 911, and who has to show up? You guys, and you guys are humans. You're not superhumans. You're not from some other planet. You guys are humans, and you see and you feel just like everyone else does. So how do you guys deal with the mental health of all this stuff and the stigma of being the bad guy now?
Yeah, it's been, like I said, the last year's been tough, but I've seen an evolution of the way we deal with PTSD and officer stress and job burnout in our profession. And when I first started, you went and you drank some beers with your buddies, and that was it. And then over time, that doesn't really work because drinking and not sleeping and stress and all of that leads to bad outcomes for officers. So we have invested a tremendous amount of time and money and energy into our peer support program and counseling. And we've tried to take away, and we haven't yet, the stigma associated with asking for help. And so we're getting better at that. We've done better at that. And I can tell you over the course of the last several years, I've gone to critical incident debriefs and different counseling sessions with my peers, not in a bar, but actually in a like a clinical setting, and where we can talk and see how each other feels and all that. And that's been very helpful. So we're doing much better in that regard, and we're taking away the stigma associated with putting your hand up, asking for help, PTSD. A lot of the PTSD related issues that the military's dealt with, it's been helpful because a lot of that correlates to law enforcement, firefighters, and first responders. So there's a lot of support out there for it. And so I think we're doing better in that regard, but we're still seeing high rates of suicide, and problems within officers, behavioral problems and stress related problems that definitely do have a correlation to the job and to the trauma and to the things that we see on a day-to-day basis. And I think that it's cumulative, like radiation, it doesn't go away. It's cumulative. The more you're exposed to it, the harder it is, and the more it infects your body, and so in your mind. And so we're working on those things, but there's new ideas out there. So you'll see cops doing yoga. We're doing mindfulness. Are they in full uniform doing yoga? Not in uniform, but mindfulness training, yoga, a lot of athletics, sports, running. Guys are big into those Peloton bikes now, riding those, and so. And we're seeing a much more our younger generation officers who are really focused on fitness and health, and that's helpful. And so we've seen it in the last, like I said, in the last my career, come a long way from hey, we don't talk about that stuff. You got to be a tough person, just suck it up, handle your business, and go home. Well, it's hard to go see these horrific things that you see at work and then go home and just be a normal person. It is hard, and it's challenged me over the years. I know that, and it's challenged a lot of my partners. And there's times where you go home and the first thing you do is kiss your kids and say, "Man, I'm so thankful for what I have." So, but you see the parts of life that no one can understand, and I think with the invention of cell phones, cameras, people are now starting to see police work like they've never seen it before, and it's not always pretty. It's violent. There's people that do very disturbing things. We're not always perfect in those videos. We do get emotional, and we've seen officers that have acted inappropriately. And, there's different types of mistakes that cops make. And are you doing everything the right way for the right reasons, and your heart's in the right place and you made a mistake? Or are you knowingly going out there and doing things that are violations of the law, of policy, and you're trying to justify what you're doing? And so there's no room for officers like that. We need to intercede in those individuals, and we need to get them out of our job. We don't need them. So I agree. That being said, we sometimes say bad words. We sometimes do get frustrated. We do get a little angry at people when they, disrespectful or whatever, just like any person would. But we got to be better than that too. And so, we show tremendous restraint. We spend a lot of time de-escalating and doing a lot of work, knowing that everything we do will be highly scrutinized at the end of the day.
Well, this podcast is called Reasons Why Aliens Would Never Invade Earth. And it's a podcast about the shenanigans that go on in the world. And you being the PIO, you've seen some pretty crazy things come out of your jail out there. Like there was one story where the guy, I think he was released, and then he carjacked somebody right after he got released or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong.
We had several of those. We had several of those. But yeah, that was a guy named Rocky Music. He ended up going to federal prison behind that. We had another one recently where a guy got out of custody for a stolen car. He went out of the front of the jail. We had a golf cart there.
That's the story I'm talking about.
That guy stole our golf cart, rode it over to the BART station. We ended up catching him, and then people blamed us, saying shouldn't have left the golf cart there. I'm like, whoa. I mean, the guy didn't have to steal the thing, So he was back in jail. I think our quickest turnaround it was 7 minutes arrest between release and back in jail. I think it was like 7 or 8 minutes or something like that. So
let's talk about that. Can you talk about the recent arrests out there? I just posted a video on my YouTube account, the one that was taken down by YouTube and then put back up by YouTube in 3 hours, where the Amazon.
Oh, you're talking about the Amazon worker? Yeah.
What, dude? What? I know you can't be in her mind, but what in the heck happened? I mean, that was crazy.
Well, obviously, what happened was not appropriate and wasn't the correct response. Not at all. And she's a young person. I think she's 21 years old. I don't know if the stress of the day and the job was getting to her, and she was, we all have our moments, but she obviously acted out physically instead of, using her mind and de-escalating herself, and hit this woman probably about 10 times. And one of the punches was a pretty good uppercut.
It was crazy.
Yeah. She should be in our boxing gym, this girl. And we can deal with that frustration. You can take that energy and young people, and if you can channel it in a positive direction, you can do great things. So I think she obviously probably regrets what she did, and can't forget that there's a victim there as well. But yeah, it was one of those things that got caught on there, and it actually made national news. And it has everything that the media likes. It has, Amazon, one of the biggest companies in the world, with the billionaire owners, and they like Amazon stories, Tesla stories, and so it had everything they wanted, and it became a national news story. But it's no different than it was in our daily log. It just came in as basically an assault. I mean, and we deal with those every day, but people finally, because of video, they get to kind of see what we deal with and the things we respond to. So yeah, that case is going on still, and the lady broke her nose, on my understanding, and then but what's sad is you'll look at the social media comments, and people will actually justify that assault and say that that's okay. It's never okay to do that.
It's never okay.
It's never okay to attack somebody.
No, I agree.
And if you talk to anybody who's a professional, in martial arts or any type of combat sport, they pride themselves on walking away from situations and not getting involved in those situations. And obviously there's a time where you do have to defend yourself or someone else, maybe in a crazy situation, but it's never acceptable to haul off and hit somebody.
Yeah, because I've taken Muay Thai kickboxing. Now, can you imagine if all the times people have confronted me out in the street with my camera, if I had just put the camera down and went all Muay Thai on them and what have you?
Well, those leg kicks hurt. They hurt.
So it'd be kind of crazy. People always wonder, how do I keep my composure? But, I realize that my action and my reaction could cause me to be out of a job. And I don't think that Amazon woman was thinking about her job at that moment. I think and every place now there's a camera.
Right.
Every place there's a camera. And I think you're right. She probably regrets what happened, but you can't unring a bell.
Mm-mm.
Once it's out there, it's out there.
All she can do is learn from that. And she's a young lady. She's 21 years old. She's going to be held accountable for her actions. And I hope as she moves forward in her life, she realizes, hey, that was wrong. And hopefully she'll learn from that. But then there's an element of society that we deal with. They don't learn from that. They'll go out and punch somebody in the face again tomorrow. And those are the people that are problematic, right? So hopefully this is a one-time deal for this lady, and she can take that energy and channel it in a good direction. Like I said, I'll offer her our boxing program. She come there, and we'll make her real tired. She'll be tired at the end of the day. She won't be able to go punch anybody. Yeah,
she definitely had some excess energy spent up. So you have to assume that you're being recorded and watched at all times, even if you think you're in the middle of the desert. Assume there's somebody with a camera somewhere watching you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we see it now when we do car stops or pedestrian stops. You know, people pulling out the cameras and filming everything we do. If it's a person of color, they're definitely going to stop and pull over and film it. In some cases, try to escalate it and make it out to be something that it's not, you know, when we're just doing our job and doing exactly, we have good probable cause, good reason to be there. People want to intervene, but have nothing to do with it at all, and try to escalate it and then hope for that they can get, you know, something on camera and get on the social media.
Reminds me of a funny story. I was riding with Alameda County Sheriff's just a while back. I think we were doing the bus detail. And the officer I was with stopped a car full of, you know, it was 4 black men in the car. And so I walk up to interview them and they go, man, you stopped us because he stopped us because we black. And I looked at him, I go, bro, I'm black. Do you think that he would have been like, hey, let's stop these black people while I'm in the car with you? And I said, you got stopped because you didn't have a seatbelt on. You stopped in the bus zone and it smells like weed coming out of the car. And you have no registration in the car registration. Oh, yeah. He goes, oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm like, come on, man. Why throw out the race card when you know you
well, and that's the thing is, you know, a lot of times when we stop a car, we can't really, especially at night, we can't see we don't know who's behind the wheel or what it is. And a lot of cars have got tinted windows. So we don't even know till we get up there really what we have. So,
well, I'll tell you something I got grief for. Remember the shooting, I forgot what city it was, where the guy, I think the girl shot him by accident, thought she had the taser.
That was in Ohio. Yeah. The traffic
Minnesota,
stop. Just north of Minneapolis, I think. Yeah.
Oakland Center, Brooklyn Center.
Yeah.
That's my producer on the side here telling me to make sure I get it right.
Yeah.
So I woke up in the morning, and the first thing I saw on my Twitter feed was that this guy was shot for air freshener hanging from the back window, and I'm like. And, you know, first you're like, oh, my God, what? Really? Mm-hmm. And I started looking at it, and then I saw that they had a little press conference to show the video. So I took the video, and I went frame by frame and look at the video. Because, you know, people would like to react without knowing what the facts are.
Right.
I looked at the real, and I looked at it 3 seconds before the fight started. There was no air freshener in the window. And also, he said that he called his mom to say, I'm being pulled over before my air freshener. Well, we all know, and I do ride-alongs all the time, that if I'm being pulled over or we pull someone over, you don't know what you're being pulled over for until the officer walks up to you and says, I stopped you because of X, Y, Z.
Right.
You can't be psychic and go, oh, this is what I'm being pulled over for.
Right.
And the average person doesn't know that a air freshener was written by legislators a long time ago, that you can't have anything hanging from your rearview mirror, anything, because it's an obstruction. Just like you can't have handicap placards hanging from your rearview mirror. In some cases, they make an exception for a cross because it's religion. But if it's not, like a huge cross, if it doesn't obstruct your vision. So, yes. So I wrote on Twitter, I said there was no air freshener involved. Oh, and
you got bombed. Yeah.
Oh man, they came ripping out.
So that's one of our problems is that we cannot keep up with the speed of social media. And if a narrative gets put out and perpetuated, you pretty much can't get ahead of it. So what you have to do at that point, and I think we saw it in Columbus, Ohio, where the girl was shot with the knife. You have to do a press conference and get the body camera out as soon as possible. When the narrative runs away, like in a situation like that, you have to own it real quick and get out in front of it. And so, and that's what the public expects. And then you will be critiqued on that body camera and how you acted and the words that you used and all of that. But we can't keep up with the speed of Twitter and social media.
You can't. And you can't keep up with the narrative because the narrative, once it's out there, if you're not ahead of the narrative that's put out there, a false narrative, you're on a slippery slope trying to climb up. And people, and somebody just wrote just now, there's an insane amount of individuals who will read the headline only rather than the entire story, which is, they wrote, a disappointment. And it is. I've actually posted stuff where people go, oh yeah, but how come you didn't do such and such? And I'm like, did you not watch the story? I did such and such.
Yeah. It's being lazy. There's so much stuff coming in on our feeds on social media and they call it clickbait because you're only gonna read as you scroll something that catches your eye. And the media and the corporations and the people who are experts in that field know what sells. And so nobody's going to want to read about, grandma or something. But now if grandma does something crazy, they want to read about it. So you need a headline to draw the person in. And so we deal with that all the time. People who see articles, they then write nasty messages to us. And we're like, did you not read the story? Because that's not what happened at all.
Yeah. It drives me insane.
Frustrating.
Yeah, they go, I don't have time to read the story. Remember the person, this was Highway Patrol in San Francisco. We stopped the girl because she ignored like 8 signs for the carpool. And the signs say, 3 people in the car. And so I asked her, I said, why are you here? She goes, well, I don't read signs. If I read signs, I might crash. And then I realized that we're doomed as a society. And that's the reason why aliens would never invade Earth.
Well, that's true. That's true. I've seen some of your videos, and that's true. There is some people do some silly things out there, but I enjoy those stories. Honestly, the lighter side of our work, we do have a sense of humor, and not everything is so serious, and we can have a laugh, and sometimes at someone else's expense, but yeah, there's a lot of the things we do are funny in our jobs. And unfortunately, as a sign of the times, we use levity and a sense of humor to deal with tragedy a lot of times. And it's just kind of the way we do and operate. But you have to be mindful of that nowadays that, you could be perceived as insensitive. So if you're at a crime scene, at a homicide scene, and you're on the perimeter and you're talking to your partner and you guys are smiling and kind of joking a little bit, that could be seen as insensitive. So we have to be very mindful of that because of the video and the 24-hour and the news and the social media. So, but as human beings, as people, we try to, when we're in a bad situation, we try to look for good things to maybe not think about what's going on. When you're dealing with death or tragedy, so we try to compartmentalize things so that we don't just get overwhelmed by it. But it's going to happen inevitably. There's things that I don't care how long you've been here and how much you've seen. There's going to be situations that get to you. And so you do have to, that's why we have to do that critical debrief. We have to take away the stigma associated with asking for help. We have to promote mindfulness and physical fitness and mental fitness. And so, we're just human. You'd like to get back to it, but there's some stuff that you see that you just go scratch your head. I saw a story today where a guy was trying to probably steal something and he got stuck down in a like a well or something. And he tried to steal the pump. And I remember we had one where the guy broke into the building in San Lorenzo and got caught in the chimney and he couldn't get out. And he was in there for like 4 days full of grease, and it was all a grease trap. He was stuck in there for 4 days. He's lucky we found him because he would have died in there. But I remember putting that story out. And I think you did it. And that thing went all over the world, viral. And that's like, hey, we caught this guy, this burglar that failed at his job. And it's kind of funny that he's stuck here. It's good that we found him alive and not dead. But, I think sometimes stories like that are good to show, that.
I call it the Santa Claus syndrome because they believe that they can climb down a chimney like Santa Claus and wiggle their nose and pop into someone's house. And there's like a whole, chimneys aren't straight down. They go back and forth. So that way you don't have stuff that's falling down into your front. People go, I can go with the chimney. It's easy.
I had a guy one time escape from me, and he went down a ventilation shaft in like a 8-story building, and you could hear him going bing, bing, bing all the way down. And then he just started popping out in different floors, kicking holes through walls, and people were running out in the hallway saying, "There's a guy breaking through my walls." And we ended up chasing this guy all the way down through the building, down into the basement. Finally caught him. He had one leg. He's dead now, by the way. But anyway, got murdered. But
wow.
Another person we tried, like, hey, you need to slow down. You need to change your life and do things right. And well, he's no longer with us because he didn't do that.
Didn't listen.
Didn't listen.
So, what's interesting is that my history for law enforcement goes back 30 years. So my first ride along was with Monterey County Sheriff's, Monterey CHP office. My uncle was a Monterey County Sheriff deputy, but my next one was with LAPD and different agencies in LA. But and so one of the stories I had with LAPD was Central Division. We get a call in Skid Row, which is right around the corner from the main headquarters, of shots fired. We get there, the whole Skid Row is empty. Like, something went down when the whole area is emptied out. And there's one lady on the corner, and I remember it clearly, pointing at the porta potties. And so we go over to the porta potties, and there is a perfect ring of bullet holes through the porta potty. And we opened the door up, and there was a male Hispanic in his with a needle still hanging out of his arm, in his bathrobe from the hospital, disemboweled.
Oh, jeez.
So you open it up, and all you see is his intestines all over the inside of the porta potty. So when I tell people that you guys see crazy things, I've seen it. I've been there. I've had bullets whiz by my head when we're riding through Watts, as people were chasing during these shows, so people can watch them. So there's a lot, and even now it still permeates in my brain some of the stuff I've seen over the years. So I sympathize and empathize with what you guys have to go through, because there's a lot of stuff going on. And we need to try to change remember when Robbie over at South San Francisco was hitting the head with a skateboard?
Yes.
And they called me. I got a phone call in LA. We were driving back from Los Angeles. We were driving down the 60 freeway, and I get a call from the chief of South San Francisco, says, "Hey, we don't think he's going to make it, but can you get here before?" And so I drove straight there, straight to the hospital. Walked in there, and Robbie was laying in the bed with his head all smashed in from the skateboard, and he gave me the thumbs up. And I realized that was probably, and I told him, I said, he gave me a thumbs up, so it's not as bad as you make it sound. Because they really thought he was on his last leg, but he gave me the thumbs up. So the funny part, and not funny haha, was that the politician took my thing of telling him about the thumbs up and made it her own.
Power of the microphone.
What was your name? Huh? It was, I can't remember the name of the it was one of our she's Nancy Pelosi. I think it was Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, okay.
She just took it and ran with it. I'm like, what? So when you guys do good things, everybody else gets credit for it. But when you guys, and that's what I'm trying to make it, but when you guys do something that they conceive as wrong, you guys get nailed to a tree in a heartbeat. And it shouldn't be that.
The same people that will say how great we are will also say how bad we are sometimes, and that's frustrating. And I understand that's politics, and that's what those people do for a living. But at the end of the day, one of the reasons I'm here is just to advocate for my profession that I've been in for 25 years, that I love and that I am proud of. And I'll never be ashamed of the work that I do. To work with the amazing people that I've met over the years from all the different police departments. And I remember that case very well with the officer with the skateboard. We were so worried about him and that he made it through, and what a celebration. We've lost our friends over the years. I got a lot of my friends on the wall in DC that have died, and even more friends that have been injured and permanently disabled from doing this job. The unwritten heroes, of the job. So, I'll never not stand up for the work that I've done. And, one of the proudest things for my family was my parents are immigrants. I'm a first generation American. My parents are from Ireland. My dad, who's passed away now, but he was one of the proudest moments for him was when I became a police officer. And I do my job for him because it made him proud. And I do it for the community, and I do it for my kids, and do it for everybody, And so the some of the mental beatings we've taken in the last year, they don't apply to everybody that wears this uniform and the badge. And there's absolutely some people out there that don't belong in our business, and we'll get rid of them. We'll weed them out. But the vast majority of people I've met have been absolutely amazing. amazing, smart, intelligent, problem-solving people that come up with great ideas. The same ideas that get taken by the politicians and used and as their ideas. But and to work with, the leadership that I've worked with, my sheriff, some of the police chiefs in our counties, the Bay Area, phenomenal people, just amazing people. And when you let officers do their job and don't micromanage them and let them be part of the community and let them go out and be innovative and think and solve problems, great things will happen. Great things will happen.
Now, let me ask you a question.
We don't need to keep our eye on people and make sure we're supervising and managing them correctly, but we also have to trust that they're going to go out and do the right thing, and they're going to.
Let me ask you a question. Community policing, that was the big catchphrase 10 years ago. Community policing, get the cops out there in the neighborhood they live at. But now we're finding out that when you have community policing and something goes sideways, the people target that officer's home because they know he lives there.
Oh yeah. Well, that's a new thing too lately that we saw during the last year. Was we saw activists and some of the radical elements out there in the community showing up at cops' homes. Even see reporters now sometimes showing up at cops' homes. I know because I've had it happen to me. I've had people come after me personally or try to dox me on the internet or put all my information out there and looked into my background, see if I'm involved in all sorts of activity. So that's just become par for the course. And I actually teach a class where I talk to officers about social media and the things that they do. I mean, if you just like something and maybe even hit the like button on accident, right? You're going to get taken to task. You've never imagined because you may have liked something or and maybe you didn't even know you liked it. Maybe you hit the button on accident. It was in your phone, was in your pocket or something. So I tell people, hey, I recommend to law enforcement people, if you do social media, only do it with your family. Like check in on your family in New York, your cousins, your aunt, people, the kids or whatever, but stay away from the political side of there and commenting on all that. It's just a bad place to be.
So a question came up. In a certain
way, we're not really entitled to, have an opinion. We're supposed to be neutral in regards to a lot of these things.
So a question came up, and we'll wrap this up pretty soon. Is what is your views on involving mental health professionals with police enforcement, and how it's being implemented? Is that even something that's Alameda?
Yeah, we're actually doing it, and we support it, and it's got a place, and it has a time, and it has a real outcome to be successful. And then there's also reasons why it doesn't. But I think that we're onto something with that. A lot of that has been brought forth by a lot of people, the reform people, and I don't think we disagree with bringing in clinicians and mental health professionals into certain nonviolent situations where they can stabilize it and we can get a person to help or to treatment. So great, we support it. Let's do it. If you want to defund part of our budget to help do that and stand these teams up, then okay. Like we don't want to be the mental health workers of the community, but obviously there's going to be scenarios we get called usually when they're violent. They don't call us when the patient voluntarily gets in the car and voluntarily goes to the hospital and voluntarily cooperates with the doctors. They don't call us then. They call us when the guy's got a knife and he's standing on the roof of a building and things have gone sideways. And now and nobody's better at de-escalating those situations than law enforcement. Honestly, we've been doing it since the beginning of time. De-escalation is not a new phenomenon. We've been doing it ever since the first cop put on a uniform and the first bad guy ran from him. We've been de-escalating because at the end of the day, we don't want to go and get in the fights and struggles every day with people. So, but there is absolutely a role and a place for those mental health teams. And then I think we could also improve law enforcement in our education, understanding, and knowledge of communicating with those individuals as well.
Someone wrote, much love and support from Phoenix, Arizona. Thanks for protecting your community in Alameda County. We already know that you're one of the, we know you're one of the good guys, Ray. I wouldn't have had you on here if you weren't. I was listening to the head of LAPD Sheriff's Department, and they were saying that some of the issues they're having right now is that they were for 2 years in a row they're going to be defunded 100 and something like $24 million each year. But they're also saying the problem they're coming up with is that with the legalization of marijuana, they're noticing a lot of illegal dispensaries popping up. Are you seeing that in Alameda County as well?
Yeah. So we have our sanctioned government approved dispensaries in Alameda County. We have a lot of them. In Oakland is obviously one of the bigger ones in the state areas for it, and where the movement basically started. And then throughout all the Alameda County and the unincorporated districts. So we don't have a problem with those individuals. The problem lies is with the underground cultivation markets, where marijuana is still a very lucrative business. You can make a lot of money with the marijuana, and so we have our problem is with indoor marijuana grows, where we have individuals taking over houses or buying houses and cultivating, hundreds, if not thousands, of plants, and then selling at. And there's still a market for it. There's a tremendous market for marijuana, and so our state has now a cannabis enforcement bureau that goes out and looks for, kind of like the prohibition agents did back in the day, goes out and looks for these people who are not sanctioned and vetted through the bureaucratic kind of government process. So there's a big market for it. And then what the problem associated with those illegal grows is they're ripe for invasion and robbery, because when you hit one of those spots, you get all the dope, all the weed, and you get all the money, because it's a cash business. So it's a 2-for-1 special. You get a lot of money and a lot of dope, but those guys are going in there with some heavy firepower doing those takeover robberies. Yeah. And inevitably, some of them go bad, and people get shot. And
by the way, the thumbs up thing with Jackie Spears, I remember it now. Actually, my better half remembered it, and she said, "Slip me a note." But it was Jackie Spears and not anyone else that said they weren't involved. Anything? So here's your chance to be a recruiter. If I know you're still hardcore looking for people who want to be deputies. How could they become a deputy for the Alameda County Sheriff's Department?
Well, so there's a couple things. Number one is we're absolutely hiring, and what we're really looking for right now is lateral officers. So lateral officers are tenured journey level officers that are experienced in law enforcement, and that we can just take you right over, and basically you're plug and play. You're educated, you're experienced, and we can get you to work real quick. Just kind of teach you how our policies and report writing and procedures are, and get those people to work. So we really need a lot of those people. Will help us quick. Continue to hire young people out of college, out of the military, and then put them through our police academy and get them a job, and then begin them on their journey to a law enforcement career. So there's two types of individuals we're looking for. We're looking for the lateral academy graduate types, and then we're looking for the entry level officers, the young people out of college that want to get into public service. So we have a ton of jobs. We're hiring. You can go to our website, AlamedaCountySheriff.org, and take a look, and we'll connect you to our backgrounds and recruiting unit. We're also on social media. We have a backgrounds and recruiting page as well. You'll see pictures, Instagram. We have a nice Instagram up, and then you can check us out on all the platforms, Alameda County Sheriff. So, but yeah, we're not unique. Everybody's looking for people, Stanley. There's a very bright man that I know who's a federal judge and who's been around for many, many decades. And he said, he'd tell me, Ray, eventually we won't be able to fill the law enforcement ranks because people just won't want to do that job, and it'll be hard to find qualified people to do that job. It's funny that beginning to see that now, that young people don't want to enter this profession because of a lot of the stigma and the stereotypes, and it's not cool to be a cop. It wasn't cool to be a cop when I became a cop either, but it's an outstanding profession, and it's a way to give back, and you can have a rewarding career. And the young people are going to be a part of the change and the reform and the movement as it progresses. And we need, and the technology, just to keep up with the amount of technology and stuff that we're doing, drones and body cameras and computer programs and 3D crime scene mapping. And I mean, there's a ton of stuff that you can find and build an expertise in. So there's a lot of opportunities out there for our young people, our young community members. I recommend take a look, join, and you know what? You could try it out for a while, and if you like it, stay. If you don't like it, you can leave and go work at Google or wherever you want to go. But come check it out.
So can I with my
well, you're honorary already. You're honorary already, Stanley. You know.
I know, but I mean, I'm saying, can I still, like, if I wanted? What's the age? Is there an age limit?
No, there's no age limit. You can't. In California, we can't discriminate against people based on their age. Some agencies and some throughout the country do have age limits, but we don't in particular. But then we don't see a lot of, I would say, over 50 crowd going through the police academy. So.
What are you trying to say? I'm just got right here. I'm young. I'm 25.
Oh, well, I don't know. Yeah. Well, if you shave that beard off, you look even younger. So, but with the, we're looking for more women, more obviously people of color, more bilingual, more diverse. But that being said, regardless, we need people who are brave and courageous and strong-minded, and who want to go do some difficult tasks. And all so. Right. We need people. That's what we need. That's the number one quality: brave, courageous, and humble, and believe in humanity and the goodness of the world. That's what the people we need. And wherever background they come from is even better. If they're more diverse, they are, the better.
So the biggest request I've had for the Alameda County Sheriff's Department is to have me come back out and ride with you guys and do some more segments out there.
Well, whenever you're ready, you give me a call and we'll do it. We'll set it up. No problem. You want to go? I know you like to go out with the motor guys and the enforcement guys.
We love the enforcement. And you know what else? The biggest thing is placards, disabled placards.
Yeah, that it's funny that hasn't been on the radar a lot lately.
I know, because there's so much other stuff.
Yeah, there's just so much stuff going on. But that used to be a big deal. $250 fine, I think. Disabled placards.
San Francisco was $900.
Yeah. And the fraudulent ones and the people using the ones that from their grandma and all that. Yeah. We can do all that. Absolutely.
All right. I love it. So everybody, this was Ray Kelly. I was going to say R. Kelly, but we don't want to go that route.
Oh, no.
The legal R. Kelly.
I'm legal. Everything about me is legal.
It's legal. And I mean, I appreciate you taking time to talk to me, because I mean, we've talked, you and I have history. We've gone way back, even to the Sonoma fires and Napa fires. Yeah, we've ridden together. We've done stuff before that. I mean, I knew you before you didn't like me. So
I always liked you.
I know. I'm just kidding.
We all appreciate you. You're like our mascot for law enforcement. When you show up, you're like a celebrity. Like seriously,
okay, don't say mascot, because I feel like I want.
No, but you show up like I've seen it where you show up at like a big command post and everybody's like, "Oh man, Stanley's here!" Like people love to see you because you tell our story for us, and you show a little bit. You give the public a little bit of a view into our world, and I think that they appreciate it and we appreciate it. Well,
I would tell you this: a lot of officers I ride with are dead scared riding with me because they think that here's what they think. They think that I'm in the car and the camera is rolling from the minute we get in the car to the minute we get out the car. They think the whole time they're on camera and I'm just filming everything and I'm asking them questions. And I'm like, dude, let's just do your job. And I tell them the same thing. I tell everyone the same exact thing every time is, remember, at the end of the day, I want to go home just like you want to go home. Don't try to do anything special for the camera. Just, pretend I'm just like your partner. I'm right next to you. I watch your back. You watch my back. Let's just be safe.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Go home to your family, take care of your family, and stay healthy. And that's all we can ask. And thank you to everybody that's watching. And I hope it's good to see us finally starting to come out of this pandemic and maybe get back to normal life. And I hope that we can, more importantly, get our young people back in school and get them back out exercising and the kids. And I got a 11-year-old and a 7-year-old here now that I got to go exercise before they drive me crazy. But great to see you, Stanley. And
good to see you. Thank you.
When you get up there, give me a call so we can go out.
I'll give you a heads up. I definitely give you a thank you for all your work. I appreciate it. And tell the guys out there, I'll be out there one day and then we can all go out and waste time with some donuts. All right, man.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
You too. Oops. So that was Sgt Ray Kelly of the Alameda County Sheriff's Department, or Sheriff's Office. And I want to thank you for joining us today. And remember that this will be also on posted on podcasts later, audio only, Google, Apple, and all the other different platforms that can be out there. It's also important that we have a Patreon page now, and it's patreon.com/Mr. Badley TV. And there are other ways that you can go and help out with this broadcast. Remember, these aren't free. We have to actually raise funds to keep this thing going. And as our funds start to get depleted, we need people to help out because this is viewer funded. So I want to thank you for taking time to spend here with us for reasons why aliens will never invade Earth. And if you remember, on Sundays, we also have Millennial Boom with my host, Diane Faith. I'm Stanley Roberts, the original founder of Caught Misbehaving. I want to say thank you for joining me, and we hope that we will see you again. Have a good night.